I'm trying to put money in your pocket, that crypto wallet, that bing bada bing ching ching big profit. Even when the market's sideways, I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right. 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 I'm always right.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Believes Crypto Show. My name's Believes. I'm coming to you live from Chirac. Apparently is the name that I'm supposed to be using today. In fact, yesterday, if anybody knows what's going on, there is what's called the Midway Blitz happening right now in Chicago, where Trump has sent ICE officials in to start sweeping the streets because, you know, you people, you can't be here. You know what I'm talking about. Out on the streets, stalking the night. I can hear your empty breathing. Whatever it is, you know, whatever dumb stuff. By the way, if you want to get Donald Trump, he is hanging out and spending all day for some reason in Boys Town. And I don't know what that means about Donald Trump, but I would just say this. The guys in Boys Town are going to be eating oranges today. So make sure that you hit the like button on the way in. If you like Donnie Dingback, then my bad. I didn't mean any of that. And matter of fact, what I meant to say is he's the greatest person who's ever lived in history. And you are just so humble to be able to filter your coffee in the morning through his socks for whatever creepy reason you guys do that shit. It's weird. You guys are, it's weird. It's weird. You're not a cult, though. Would never be. Because in order for the difference between a cult and a religion is the cult leader has to be alive. And as we know, Trump died 2 weeks ago and has been replaced by a lizard. Or I don't know. It's just whatever look, you may not go to 4chan, but I still read it. You know what I mean? So good luck. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the crypto market. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. If you don't like what I just said, make sure you hit the dislike button to let YouTube know. Because if you let YouTube know that, then they'll know. And once they know, you know they know. Because they know that I know that you know that I know that you know, whatever. All right, guys. Vivopower Tembo adopts Rlusd for global payments as part of its XRP strategy. So, Derek Hines says, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, does this have to do with crypto? Everything. So there. All right. So Tembo by Vivopower adopts Rlusd stablecoin to reduce cost, enable faster payments, and companies' digital treasury strategy. So Vivopower International announced that its electric vehicle subsidiary, Tembo, will now accept Rlusd stablecoins for payments. The decision makes Tembo one of the first global vehicle companies to integrate the fast-growing stablecoin. Now, here's the important part. The important part is what you just witnessed is mass adoption of Rlusd in real time. Vivopower, now the first big company, first major vehicle company who has decided to accept a stable coin. The Genius Act is starting to work. We're going to see more announcements like this over the next little while, and Rlusd will probably be one of the three that are at the forefront. Of course, USDT will be the one for mass adoption. USDC may be a little more well positioned for the US market early on, as Tether tries to. One of the things, remember, one of the problems that Tether has right now is that it's located in I want to say Seychelles or something like that, and they use the same accounting firm, or used the same accounting firm as FTX back in the old days. So I'm not really sure that you know the U.S. is really convinced that USDT is okay. I think this administration, they don't care. They're just going to shrug and be like, oh, whatever. So there's some concerns that people will have. So USDC, because it's fully compliant with US laws and regulations, most likely going to get a nice little pickup off of this. But this would lead to RLUSD being the third and more viable option for payment processing, especially for people who are going to use the Ripple XRP ledger to create that blockchain. So it's going to be it's going to be very, very interesting how this plays out over the next little while. Vivopower observed that this rise is a sign of confidence in Ripple as a blockchain payment leader. Tembo manufactures entirely electric utility vehicles for mining, agriculture, military construction, and humanitarian purposes. The vehicles are constructed to suit on-road and rough off-road use. Tembo also uses related services such as charging, financing, batteries, and microgrids. By adopting RLUSD, the subsidiary adds another digital solution for its global clients, making it easier for people to start using it. And here's the thing, because RLUSD is owned by Ripple Labs, this creates more synergy in these markets to remind more people that they need to buy and hold XRP. This will lead to another price pump. These are points right now. And by the way, don't forget that we are still in a PvP market. And to illustrate that we're in a PvP market, you guys remember a couple days ago, let me tell you exactly what happened here. We did a video for XVM Volt. It was sitting at about a 50 million market cap, currently sitting at an 8.9 million market cap. I was reticent to share it. I ended up sharing it Sunday in my chat because I was making a video and stuff like that. And I had concerns about it, but I went ahead and shared it anyway. And then somebody sent me a message like, why didn't you share it faster? Because I thought this shit right here that happened was going to happen. I mean, when you see up only, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a stark correction at some point. Now is the time to buy. If you're going to buy, if you want to enter a position in Volt right now, there it is. I mean, that is your generational entry. Now, mind you, it is my opinion that 75 million, maybe 62 million might be the spot that it's going to go to. Depends on how the development team and everybody respond to this dip. And by the way, should be noted here that it bounced off of the previous support level, which was at about 3 to 4 million, immediately got a nice little buyback off of it, and it's starting to surge one more time. If it does, then it's going to be really interesting and it'd be really nice. Now, there was a guy, one of the influencer types who, roads to riches or rags to brands, whatever fucking name was, put $5,000 in. It was up over 120,000 at one point, and he's suddenly gone silent. I'm going to say that he's one of the sellers. In the KOL chat, same thing kind of happened here. People were talking about the developers were in the chat, and they were saying stuff like, well, if the KOLs would stop selling, then maybe we'd go up or something like that. So, whoo. Woo-hoo. Can we talk about Caleb Williams? We can't? Okay, whatever. What are we talking about, Caleb Williams? Man, Chicago Bears, absolute letdown last night. Absolute collapse. The Bears scored 24 points. So for that, cool. You score 24 points, you should have a shot in a game. And the Bears did, to their credit, have a shot in the game. But they gave up 27 points. So in me looking back here, I would like to see Caleb Williams make a few plays and stop throwing the ball and seeing if the air can catch it, because he was very inaccurate in the second half of the game. He started 10 for 10 before settling and ended up going 21 for 35, which means that he only went 11 for his last 25 throws. Like, Jesus Christ, you cannot win football games. You can't win football games that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is absolutely impossible. And then the problem is people like, Tyreek Stevenson? Like, Tyreek Stevenson, if you guys remember last year, checked himself completely out of the game when Washington threw a Hail Mary and he was over here jawing with fans and stuff like that. Tyreek Stevenson just giving open plays, just not doing a good job of coverage. And by the way, it wasn't limited to Tyreek Stevenson. It took everybody working together to lose that game. Okay. Now here's the good part, or at least in my opinion, on the good part for the Chicago Bears. They don't owe anybody anything. The fact that Adebingbo and the fact that the other guy whose name I still can't fucking pronounce were the ones that were getting into the backfield and making the sacks. The fact that Montez Sweat was quiet for most of the game is a testament that Montez Sweat was grossly overpaid. And right now, he's probably on his way out the door. They're going to bring in somebody young and hungry who's willing to put in the work to be a superstar and to attack on that edge if Austin Booker is not up for the challenge. And, I think they're going to improve by attrition. Also, it should be noted, TJ Edwards was not in the game. Jalen Johnson was not in the game. Kyler Gordon was not in the game. So two of your best cover men, because Kyler Gordon is that nickel that, you love to have Kyler Gordon on the field. You love to have Jalen Johnson as a shutdown on the field going against somebody like Justin Jefferson, who had a really good fourth quarter. Like if you had a few more pieces in place, maybe the outcome's a little bit different. Maybe you don't give up one of those touchdowns. Bears squeak away 24-17 or 24-20, something like that. But you have to plug and play, and you have to get people to step up. And when it mattered, the Bears, as usual, crumbled. So that's the only thing that you can say about it. Absolutely crazy. You know what I mean? Chicago got the Bulls and the Bears, and they still can't get it right. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? And by the way, there were plenty of things to like about what you saw with the Chicago Bears, and I am convinced, based on what I saw, that they will get better. But you can't just go out there and take control of a game, lead a game on your home field, and then just start. They had 12 penalties for 127 yards. It's the NFL. And by the way, I know that one of those penalties was a lying bullshit one on Darnell Wright that he did not hold, that they showed it in the replay, that this was just the refs, in on the fix. I understand that, but there were 11 other penalties that were bogus and BS that should not have happened. You have to have some discipline. Ben Johnson was brought in for that discipline, and the discipline is this at this point. Are they ready to play, or are they not ready to play? And will you start the people who look ready to play? That's the question right there. That's it. So, back to crypto. I said AL would get better, but I had to wake up, and so should you, about the Bears. You know what? It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Bears fan, but it's not that serious. I'm a Louisville fan too, and I hate what I see from Louisville so far. They're 2-0. Louisville beat Eastern Kentucky, but their second team struggled against a FCS opponent. What the fuck? And then last week, James Madison came to play. And by the way, I should say that James Madison is the best team outside of the FBS. They're the best of the best that's available, and that James Madison coach should probably be in a Power 5 conference and stuff like that. So I understand that it was a tough game. They came in, gave them all they want, but 28-14 was not really good enough. That was the spread, by the way. It was a 14-point spread. So, but they didn't, I think it was 14.5 for most people. So I don't think they covered the spread, but they were kind of close. And it was really only through a comedy of errors at the end of the game that Louisville was able to squeak those out, including a 78-yard run from Isaac Brown out of nowhere, who only had 12 carries and 127 yards. The guy's averaging 10 yards a carry, and you only gave him 12 touches. Something's wrong. So there's going to be some bad games from Louisville too. So even though it's 2-0, I don't feel like 2-0. Anyway, so the question now is, will this thing reverse and will it turn around? I don't know the answer to that. I don't like what I'm seeing based on the sell-offs because look, we are still PvP. All right. We are still just a PvP market where people are just trying to scalp one another and kill each other for a couple of bucks. That's just what we are. It's what we do. So Anyway, back to it. The Kobayashi letter just released a report. This came from Donald Trump, and it's very interesting and intriguing, okay? He says, and by the way, this is just Trump crying. I mean, basically, that's what it is. He's just whining, wah, wah. And at this point, what he should be doing, in my opinion, is not crying, because that's what babies do. And Trump's not a baby. I mean, he's 80 years old, so he walks like a baby, but he's not. This is a grown man crying about the Fed, saying if the Fed had followed, you know what? I wish I could do that in that 9-year-old kid voice, because there was a guy who was changing all of Trump's speeches into that of like a 9-year-old kid, which it made more sense that way. But if the Fed had allowed what we published, they would have raised the rates in early 2021. The entire organization is broken. It needs to be fixed. That's true, by the way. That they need to use modern sources of information. We strongly disagree with Ken Griffin. We think incompetence is more important than to defend the theoretical independence. He, which is Jerome Powell, has done a terrible job since he adapted a 2 target. It's too low. I mean, we should fire the president who hired him, right? They don't believe that money supply matters. It's like the Pope not believing in Jesus. We think that's a much bigger problem than this notion that they are dependent or they're not independent. Jay Hatfield, Infrastructure Capital Advisor CEO on Marie B. Chair Powell was late to raise rates. They need to come down here. There's no question about it. He's dragging his feet. The Fed going to come down here 50, 75, maybe 100. That's what the Fed is going to need to do. Now, by the way, we're pricing in at this point a 25 basis point rate cut. Jerome Powell, at this point, in my opinion, believes that he is destroying the country. I do think that he feels that way right now. And, you know, I think he's trying to look at it from as conservative a position as he can. And I understand why he's coming to these decisions to not reduce the rates, but he is crippling the U.S.'s ability to borrow, to pay down its debt. He is stifling U.S. innovation with what he's doing right now. And I think, by the way, based on his last speech, he realizes that, and that what he wanted to see, aside from a less crazy president who's just throwing tariffs at, by the way, did you know that there's an island with only penguins that live on it and no people, and it has a 25% tariff? Like, I don't know that we're importing penguin feces. I mean, maybe Donald Trump is, I don't know, but he's charging them an extra 25%, which they're paying. They're paying. The penguins are paying it, you know, whatever. Anyway, it's wild. It's wild. So hopefully, and this was a shock, by the way, you know, we should recognize this was a shock to the system. We have not enforced things by tariff in a very long time. We have not taken care of our manufacturers. We have not taken care of our employees as a government in a very long time. I mean, if you don't become an employee and you get fired, we get plenty of money for you. And there are problems with this government. So I support, and I've said it before, I don't like tariffs, but I support the tariffs that we're doing right now, because this is better than the way it's going. All right. Now, with that being the case, it's weird that a child, an 80-year-old child, is crying about the Fed. It is just, guys, if you can't see how hilarious it is to see this old man crying, then you are you are in a cult. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. If you can't see the hilarity in a grown ass man. By the way, a grown-ass draft dodger putting Shapocalypse Now, a grown-ass draft dodger putting himself in military gear and calling it Shapocalypse Now, and then getting mad at a reporter when the reporter yesterday, if you guys didn't see this, it was amazing. The reporter says, sir, are you going to be sending troops into Memphis and St. Louis? Those are Republican states, but they have higher crime rates. Their murder per capita is higher than Chicago. And he's like, that's not true. That's not true. Like he's going off on it like it's not true. And then the lady pulls the data and he gets mad at, like, it's just crazy. It's crazy, right? It's crazy, isn't it? So you're saying it's not politicized? No, it's real. It's just, and the Trump administration made up the data that said that it was more dangerous so that they could then say that Chicago was more. That's what you thought? That's what you thought? Okay. All right. I get it. I got it. You're right. Whew. You're right. Anyway, so Kobayashi letter says this also. Tomorrow is the big day, meaning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, the U.S. will be releasing its preliminary revision for jobs data in the 12 months ending March of 2025. So let's go look jobs data. Oh, and of course, Elon's fucking shit platform. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. How do we not, like, how does Twitter not work? It's fucking crazy. All right. The U.S. economy probably added close to 1 million fewer jobs in 2024 and early 2025 than previously thought. I'm not a member of New York Times. I'm not gay, but I support you if you are. So let's see if we can get anything over here on the jobs report on our following. DeCarlos commits crime. What? Breaking. The French government has collapsed. U.S. preliminary at this point does not appear that Juan Jennings. Who is Jawan Jennings? You know what? I'm going to unfollow all you motherfuckers, man, because this is just, God damn it. You guys are some dumb shit. Jobs report. Let's see what it does. U.S. labor. There we go. U.S. Labor Department revises minus 911,000 jobs out of the data reported for the 12 months ending March of 2025. The U.S. job market is far weaker than initially reported. Now, what does this mean? For those of you that don't understand, this means, I'm going to hate to say this. I'm going to hate to say this. All right. Trump was right. He was right. The data is not correct. The data was revised upwards. It supported holding rates higher because remember, the reason that we were holding numbers higher, according to Jerome Powell, month after month after month, was because we had a good jobs report. If we're creating all these jobs and the economy is not in the tank and not in need of a rate cut, we don't need to help anybody because the jobs were doing such a bang up job of hiring people, right? Now, remember, don't forget, Donald Trump fired a lot of government employees. So some of this revision, I think 622,000 jobs is what he got rid of in the government. So that might be in these numbers, but I don't think that all of that was happening until like April or May. I think that's, so when we look from March of 2024 to March of 2025, what do we get? We get that, God damn it, Trump was right. 100%. So it is time to reduce rates dramatically. What does that mean for the market? Well, here's what it means for the market. We're not looking at it. I haven't looked at it since we started, but I feel like if the markets are doing what it should be doing based on this data, we are probably pumping the shit out of gold and Bitcoin right now. If we're not, then that means the market is being manipulated. And the reason for that is because this should be incentivizing Jerome Powell and the Fed to do a massive rate cut. So we should be pricing in a massive rate cut, and we should be looking at Jerome Powell realizing he messed up. That's what should be happening right now. So let's see in just a moment exactly what happened there. Bull market peak indicators are telling us still that we are not in a sell-off mode. We are still in the throes of the bull market. Just keep holding. You're going to be fine. Become a member of the channel if you haven't already. TerraCasino.io for all your risk-based gaming needs. Hope you didn't bet on the Bears to win. I don't know what the spread was, but unbelievable. And if you do utilities or meme coins, Terraport.finance is your place to go. Now, Devi, since September, I don't even know what to say at this point. Okay. Other than September 1st is the last time we got an update from them. If you don't know, by the way, and I don't know if you guys know Austin, for those of you that don't understand who that is, it's the guy on the left over here, Austin Ramped. He just released a new book. So he released a book about his history and, you know, what he went through in his life. So I don't know what that has to do with Devi. I don't think that it has anything to do, but shout out to Austin for having his own book finally released. He's been working on it for a long period of time. And there's no updates in the last bunch of days. When we go look at the Dev exchange, the Devi ecosystem, we go look at anywhere here looking for an update on Devi. The weekly roundup, don't see it. We don't have anything right there. Oh, by the way, AJ Lee's back in WWE. So yeah, here we go. Here's the Devi ecosystem and Devi roundup. And the last roundup was videos. 3 months ago, live streams 12 days ago. So I don't know. Also, Definity, who I still haven't talked to anybody from Definity. I just removed them. But it says, in a market obsessed with hype and volume, we've chosen a different path, one built on trust, compliance, and infrastructure. What sets us apart from the giants is that we've done the hard, unglamorous work, securing regulatory approvals, building audit-ready infrastructure, and designing our institutional risk and compliance from day one. While others chased volume, we built the controls institutions actually require, like role separation, transaction level audit trails, and integrated risk management. That's why banks and funds trust us with real flow. I don't know that to be the case, but that sounds good. We don't aim to be everything to everyone. We're focused on doing one thing well, providing the rails that institutional capital actually trusts and uses. I don't know this to be the case, okay? I know that they're saying that, and I know that that sounds good, and I know that should there be mass adoption in some way, that Definity Markets appears to be poised for a really good time and a really good run. But you know, we have to see something actually happen here. And to this point, and to, you know, like, I don't see anything right now yet, just like Devi, that tells me that something is actually happening. Now, of course, let's go back to it. What did it say originally? It said, what sets us apart from the giants is that we've done the hard work, unglamorous work, securing regulatory approvals while everybody else is out here hyping up. I don't know. You know what I mean? No, we don't. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but 99.9% of all crypto projects are going to fail. So, duh. And everybody, if you're saying that you hate advertising, I hate advertising too. If you're saying that you don't want to watch commercials, I don't want to watch commercials either. But that is the market, and that's how the market works. So, I mean, just don't watch them. You know, anyway, we'll see whether or not something happens here. I'm going to hold my bag. I'm going to keep it because I think, I think that there is a possibility. We were talking about a Forex. We're talking about a Forex platform. So if something good happens, then I'll be part of it. If not, oh well. As far as the rest of the market goes, Mix is ripping again, up 119%. It was at $17 just a little while ago. Let's go look at the market over here. Oh, I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. We're only up $10 billion on the day, so the market dumped on the news, of course. And then where's MYX? Right there. It went to $18. It went to $18. By the way, this is what I expect to see from Devi, just for full disclosure. And I don't even think it's going to be that big. But this thing was trading just, you know, in July at 9 cents. Or I'm sorry, at the beginning of August, it was trading at 9 cents. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, 9 cents. Yeah, it was at 9 cents in July. Came down to August about 11 cents. So 10 cents. So you're talking about 160x on Mix. You're talking about an incredible breakout. this is the breakout that I anticipated, or that I keep telling you that I think is going to happen to Devi too. All right. So to me, I missed this one, but it gives me hope that if I'm right, and if it is NASDAQ, if it is, what I say that it is with Devi, that the same thing is going to happen with them, that they're going to have that massive breakout. And by the way, when I say that, remember, we look at it right here. We got the FOMO build right here. When it does a 10x right in this range right here, which is what I said. I thought that Devi would do maybe a 20x, going up to about $10, $12 to $1 billion market cap. That would float at $1 billion market cap for a short period of time before having an absolute explosive breakout. And that's exactly what MYX just did. So it doesn't mean that Devi will, it just means that that's what it would look like to me. So the fact that it's possible, and the fact that we're seeing it right here, it is a really good sign for a lot of the market. When we start to come down here, remember Ether yesterday. Ether was up like radical yesterday. Ether had a massive breakout as well. So there are things that are starting to move. We're starting to get that test. We're starting to get that feeling that people are moving their money around. Now, what we ultimately need to see is we need to see Bitcoin have one more breakout. Bitcoin has one more breakout. Altcoins are going to get sucked from of liquidity, by the way, and then we'll get a big rip from Bitcoin. Once that big rip from Bitcoin is done, then the altcoin season could begin. Maybe we'll see that happen. But Bitcoin dominance still breaking down a little bit more and a little bit more. It was down to 58.12. Trending along here. This right here, this would make me nervous. Okay. I don't know. You know what I mean? The reason that makes me nervous is because Bitcoin is where the money is, and it has to do this before it can do this. If it does it right here, we'll get an altcoin season, but it's not going to be the crazy altcoin season that you might have wanted to see. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Also, if we look at money supply, look at that. I don't even know what's going on with that. I don't even know. I have no idea what is happening right there. You know what I mean? Maybe, just maybe, it doesn't work on that platform right there. But we were up here. Like I don't know what minted. Okay, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know what minted that caused this to happen. But remember, we were kind of at $100 trillion in the market, and it rips up to 177 trillion for a day or 2 days, and then dumps back down. I don't really know what happened with the liquidity. Okay, so I can't. U.S. money supply continues to soar, continues to pump. So ultimately, I think when we look at it from this context right here, see, it says 174 trillion. Like that's insane. That's absolutely not true. So anyway, what I'm worried about mostly would be, let's do this right here. What I'm worried about is this right here. That previous top at 100 trillion. What are we doing? And if you look over here, again, we're going to take that piece out because that's broken. Whatever that is broken. And we're going to look at this right here. And guess what? All-time high all over again. Okay. So I'm pretty sure this means that we are going so much higher, not 170 trillion minted in the markets in 24-hour high, but the markets are ready to soar a lot higher. Okay. So now we're down $10 billion on the day in just a few hours. By the way, let's go look here. It just the United States market, garbage mongrels that they are. Look at this. The has wiped out $80 billion in this market in the last hour. This is America's such trash. Jesus Christ. We've gone from 3.8 trillion in market, or 3.87 trillion in market cap down to 3.81 trillion in market cap. And it didn't take an hour. It didn't take an hour for the garbage mongrels called the United States investor to tank a market that was starting to soar. The fucking say, you know what I mean? Like, God damn USA, you're garbage. Stealing from you is what they do. It's how they do, dog. See what I mean? Talk about what will happen to alts if Bitcoin goes to 90K. I think we did. I think we talked about it. So the numbers for Bitcoin, or at least I feel like we've been doing it for the last couple of days. Here's the trend line right here. And this is where everybody's saying that we're going to go. Now, I think 105,000 is a more likely scenario. What I gave you yesterday was the potential for a breakout where Bitcoin actually, it's still above right now. This sort of trend line right here. So it is actually breaking out from where it could be going. Ultimately, though, between 90 and 95,000 looks to be the next target zone right here. Now, the reason that that's the case is, let's go back down here and let's look at this over a long term. If we're trending through this channel, then that means that the most likely scenario is that we're going to bounce through this channel one more time. Now, here's the problem. Thesis. We didn't break to the top right here. We got rejected. Now we're at the heart line. Then we rejected back up to the top, but didn't break out again. We didn't get up to the top of this range, which means that the market is starting to weaken. And when the market's starting to weaken, the most likely scenario is a play to the bottom. And the bottom of this range right now is between 90 and 95,000. So that's what would happen. Okay. And that would be a breakdown from here of, let's call it 15 to 18%. Now, we've only broken down about 10% from this high. Normal corrections are in the 25 to 30% range. So it feels like to me that we've got some downward momentum. Now, the only problem with this thesis is, what if this move is not done yet? So what if what we're really seeing is just, something like we hit the bottom over here, then we went sideways, then we had a little surge, and we didn't exactly make it. We met at a high, another high, and we had dips in between before we rip to the top, right? Well, what if that's the same thing as playing out right here? What if that's the case, and what we've got is that last little boom where it breaks out, right? From there, if we talk about a 20% dip from, let's say, 134,000, 135,000, which I think is the next top, then a 25% breakdown brings us into 105, 106,000, which is the number that I gave you the other day, saying, that's most likely where the bounce is going to come from. We need at least a 20% correction, right? Now, if we make it to the top of the range up here to 140,000, then it looks even more attractive, because then it makes perfect sense, because that's 25%. So that's, the market's got, obviously there's two options. There's bearish or bullish. And maybe this move is not completed. Maybe we're going to get this big crazy candle right here. Then we're going to get a crazy dip. Now, if that were to happen, then we're going to get drug up. The rest of the altcoins, the major alts, are going to get drug up. So we're going to see a big surge in XRP. We're going to see a big surge in Ethereum, big surge in Solana. We'll see some of the big caps will start to move along with Bitcoin. But the rest of the market will start to get sucked dry of liquidity, because everybody's going to want to get in on a generational Bitcoin pump, and everybody wants to sell the high at 135, 150, ultimately 175,000. Everybody wants to. So, we could be looking at we could be looking at anything right now. But if we break down here, then it should be noted XRP 249 is their breakdown. Now, if it gets ugly, right about here at about $2.05 would be one of those spots where you're going to bounce. Also, $1.90 is going to be one of those spots. Like, you can see generational entry into this market if we get a breakdown. Ethereum, I think Ethereum is ready to break down. It broke down below its range at one point, but Ethereum breaking down here to, let's call it 26, 25, is certainly possible as well. Remember, alts are going to dump stronger than Bitcoin. So to see a breakdown from there, where are we at right here? All right. So to see that breakdown 38 to 40%, that would make perfect sense for that to happen. Now, doesn't mean that we're not going to surge back up and have 6,000 or 8,000, something like that. Doesn't mean any of that. Just means that we had a nice big dump. Also, same thing for Solana. Solana, despite the fact that it's been attractive for the last bunch of days and is up on the day, is still one that's incredibly volatile. And by being incredibly volatile, you leave yourself open to incredibly volatile moves. So if we start breaking down $122 for Solana, maybe even down to 110. We could also see a test at the bottom over here. Not likely. At best, if we're looking at it and we're making a guess, and we had to make a guess, we'd probably take this little trend line right here and say that the most likely bounce area is going to be somewhere along this little spot. So 140, 150, something like that. OM could go down more, but I don't think it's likely that it will go down more. When we look at it on the hourly, we saw a nice run, but again, we got this profit taking that's happening right now. Went back up to 22 cents. I DCA'd a little bit more today, only $5 worth. There was only like $5 commission for the day. So only $5 worth, but I'm happy to say that for this period of time, it appears that OM is finally in a sustaining uptrend. Now, I'm not sure yet how this plays out. I'm not sure, but we've tested the 50 MA to give you on the, it's been a very long time. I want to say this, it's been a very long time. Okay. We have not seen an uptrend on the 200 MA until today. This is the first, look at this, that little curvature right there pointing back upwards. That is the first positive trend on OM in a very long time. I mean, just keep zooming out and keep zooming out. You know, you had this run to 40 cents not that long ago. So you had kind of an uptrend over here. That's it. And it's been down, 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 down. And again, you know, it was a long downtrend with a little up, mostly down. So you're finally getting that reversal one more time. Usually leads to a big surge, right? We've got this big surge happening over here. And guess what? That ends up at 40 cents. So same thing could be happening over here. Same thing could be at play. Don't forget, make sure you take your profit along the way. You never know. It's an incredibly volatile market. If I get up to 40 cents, I'm actually motivated at this point to sell at 40 cents because I'm holding, I want to say I hold a little bit over 20,000 right now. So if it surges to 40 cents, that would be about 8 grand. And if that happens, most likely we're coming down to 30 cents again. So if I can get a surge to 40 cents, I think I'm going to be motivated as a seller to buy back in at 30 cents again and create a nice DCA. And then once I create that nice little DCA right there, maybe have a much bigger bag so that when it goes back up, I can sell 20,000 again if it continues on any kind of uptrend. I'm not even saying that it will, by the way, but if it continues on any sort of nice little uptrend and it goes up above that 40 cents one more time, and I get a nice little rip off of that to what I think is the next level, which, where did I put the next level? Right. 50 cents. So then if it rips up to 50 cents, I'm going to have about an 80% profit and I can just exit. I can take my 8 grand, fuck out, and then leave the rest in just in case something happens and just in case there's some kind of revival that takes it back up. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm watching for. But I mean, again, even if you zoom out here and you do it on the 4 hour, you've clearly had a bounce and the start of an uptrend. The problem with the uptrend right now is just that you're not going higher. You didn't mint higher. You ended up coming back down to your starting point. And that means that enthusiasm is lessened. And if enthusiasm is lessened, then you have to start looking at tops over here and saying, well, there's a limited amount of upside right there. So If it breaks right now, 30 cents might end up being the cap. What you'd like to see is a breakout to 40 to test that range right there one more time, but you never know. You never know. You just never know. Devi, again, this is one that had the same thing. It bounced off of the bottom, had a nice little uptrend, then got caught, started to dunk again. When you look at it from Fibonacci, there was the impulse move right there. There was the top right there. Came down into the golden ratio, and then what did you do? What do I tell you? If you're strong, you go to the 236. If you're weak and you have no momentum, 382. Devi is weak and doesn't have momentum, so it goes to the 382 instead of the 236. Now, it might change, and we might not be done with the move. This is a candle for the day. This is not a candle for, I mean, we could see a nice little surge here in a couple of buys, and the next thing you know, you're at that 236 number. But if that happens, then what's the next play out? Move up to here, then come back down in here, even deeper, coming back down into 42, 43 range before you have a breakout. So that's what Fibonacci would tell me. Ultimately, if we get bullish, then the Fibonacci is going to break out to about 62 cents, which is the top right there. So, it's all in line for something to happen. But until, I mean, at this point, what's going on? I mean, nobody knows what's happening right now with Devi. I think, in my opinion, just my opinion, okay? But in my opinion, there is a calm before a storm kind of scenario that's playing out, because I'm trying to be bullish about it. But they're not talking very much. They're launching a public shard. There's all these little pieces that they're pulling out that are coming very, very soon. So maybe they just don't have anything to talk about. Now is the time to actually do something. I don't think, by the way, that a public shard is going to move the market very much. It's a possibility you get a little bit of pump out of it. So if you're in profit-taking mode, take a little bit along the way. But I don't think that there's much to that. The announcement of the partnership with NASDAQ is the only thing that really matters and changes the trajectory ultimately of Devi. I don't think that releasing the rest of this, it's a non-thing to me. You need power behind you at this point. You need some sort of big backing. You need something to happen. So we'll see whether or not something happens. So let's go to the Fear and Greed Index. We're still just neutral. 48 today, 51 yesterday, 44 day before. So, we'll see what happens. Money is still kind of coming off of exchanges. Bitcoin flows were to the end, 364 million, but on Ethereum, it was still outflows. It was reduced outflows, 96 million, but it was still outflows. So altcoin season might be delayed by just a little bit of time. Also, I got this new one right here. This is, I'm just kind of watching this for right now. It's a bunch of different indicators all wrapped up here. You've got the Binance price action here for Bitcoin. Then you've got the cumulative volume delta. Then you've got the aggregated spot cumulative delta. Then you've got the funding rate and open interest. And then you've got the open interest candles. And then you've got the aggregated futures bid and ask. And you can look at the price action, and you can see when price action starts to spike is when it goes red over here. When you start to see that red right there, that usually means there's a spike coming. We've got the reverse happening right now. We've got downward momentum. So if I'm just guessing randomly, it looks like there might be a little spike getting ready to happen in this market. So I'm not sure about this data yet. It's going to take me a little while to read through it and try to figure it out. If you are, again, XVM is now over 11 million market. Oh, shit. Like starting to surge again. I don't know how high it's going to go. I don't know if it's even going to go. You know what I mean? But if it does, I would expect to, just like I told you before, if you get that rip down and you get that breakdown to that lower sort of range, then you get that 236 play, right? So the 236 play here, I don't feel like that 100 million market cap, like it's not working for me. I just feel like they're, you know what I mean? So 50 million, but listen, 60 to 80 million, if it reverses and it does what most cryptos do on a surge, then it's going to go to 60 to 80 million market cap. Won't be as high as it was before, which was 120 million. That's not going to happen. But you could see a crazy run there to 60 to 80 million one more time before finally breaking down. More likely for that scenario, because that took a single buyer who put in like 600,000 out of nowhere. And by the way, had to sell. I mean, he had to lose money on that, right? I mean, had to. So I don't know what that crazy shit was there. So if I look at from this standpoint right here, then my 236 is actually in the 50 million range. So I'll consider it the 50 million or 40 million range if there's a reversal, just taking my money and, walking away or selling, waiting for a dip and then buying in on that dip. So there you have it. That's it. That's the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. By the way, I did my hair. I decided I was going to dye my hair blonde. I do it every once in a while because my roots start to show and my roots are kind of dark. You can kind of see that right now that it was kind of dark, but I usually get the lightest blonde because I want my hair to look almost white. And unfortunately, I don't have white hair. I do on the side. I look like Reed Richards, by the way. I look like a geriatric Reed Richards. I have like gray hair on the side and then dark hair across the top. So anyway, dyed it blonde. And I don't like this blonde at all. So whatever. All right, guys, that's the show. Thank you for tuning in. It's not financial advice, but I'm always right. We'll see you guys again.
I'm looking for the good life, good life. Sitting on top of the world. I want to be shining like diamonds and pearls. I want you to go.